Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season. My name is Dan and welcome to just a random stream I thought I'd do on deadline day just because I'm still tinkering with my wildcard. I know I made a wildcard video yesterday, but I've already made quite a few changes, so I didn't want to keep you updated. I don't want to hide what I'm trying to do right now. I've mixed it up a little bit. Took some of your guys' feedback on board as well, so thank you for that, guys, who left a comment on yesterday's video. And sorry, I am FPL late today, but, you know, we got to get the blackcurrant squash involved. I mean, I can't stream without a blackcurrant squash. It's just not possible. It's just not possible. So 2 streams today, so we're going to go for a decent amount of blackcurrant squash. Yeah, this was to be the first one, and the next one will be in about 4 hours time. I'll do another stream, and that'll be the deadline stream. So there we go, guys. So there'll be 2 streams today. This is not the only one. There'll be 2. So this one, I guess, is if for those of you who can't join later, then absolutely fair enough. I'll see you now instead. For those of you guys who want to watch both, well, enjoy a double stream day today. Hope you guys are all doing okay. Who we got in the chat? We have got Count Sealaw, the moderator of choice. Darren Wakefield is moderating today as well. Who else we got? Any other members? Timothy Murdoch is here. What's up, guys? Hope you're all doing very, very well. But yeah, okay, let's not beat around the bush here, guys. We want to have a look at where I'm at with my wildcard right now. So I'm going to show you the wildcard is active, I'll tell you that. So those of you here with the intention of trying to tell me to not wildcard, it ain't happening. It ain't happening. The wildcard is happening. MoxoCube and Offcore in the chat as well. Yeah, Offcore, I did see your good news as well. So congratulations on getting your arts. I can't remember what it was in now. Is it Next or some UK store is selling your art now? So that's wicked. But okay, guys, let me show you where I'm at. So this is not actually right. I haven't fully updated this yet on here because I haven't saved. But I just brought in some players that were going up in price just in case I decided to go for them. But I'm just going to get rid of the players who I'm not going to be having, or most likely not going to be having. I'm going to fill in the players that I'm pretty confident I'll be having in my wildcard team, and then I'll fill in the gaps from there. So Elise, you guys know I've been hyping him up a lot, so he's going to be in. De Bruyne, I am pretty confident in, so I'm going to go for him in there as well. Who else do I know I'm going to get? Probably Robertson. Yeah, that's not definite, but I will show you kind of my thinking, and we'll switch things about, and we'll answer some questions and all that in the chat. But let me just get stuff sorted on screen first and foremost. For forwards, actually no, I need to put in. I don't know why I'm typing in Bruno. I need to type in Fernandez. He's going in now, so no more Ronaldo, no more R9. Broja is going to go in there. We'll talk about him and his injury as well, I'm sure. And I'm also going to put a Dinya. He's in the club. He's in. Ramsdale will make the cut as well. And that kind of leaves us with 2 spots. So this is pretty much where I'm at. And the only thing that could possibly change here is maybe Robertson comes out and Jota comes in, which will leave me a gap in defence. And maybe also we could potentially go for Salah a little bit earlier. But I don't think so. So yeah, guys, this is... by the way, those of you asking what football shirt I am wearing today, this is the Corinthians shirt from this season. I'll show you guys. Honestly, it's a wicked shirt. I love it. It's so nice, man. Like, look at this. Like, kind of stone cracked look effect. Dr. Stone in the house. I love it. But yeah, let me tell you on Salah. I don't think I'm going to go for Salah. I don't know if I'm going to go for Salah. The reason why I'm not really feeling Salah too much at the moment is because, yes, I understand that he wants to play. There has been news, by the way, guys, that's come out. Jurgen Klopp has said Salah, he's back in training. He's going to have a fitness test kind of thing tomorrow to see how badly fatigued he is, because obviously he has played an insane amount of football recently. Salah wants to play. Now, that's not too surprising. Of course, Salah is going to want to play. He's come back. He's had some disappointment. And he wants to come back and play football. Of course he does. The question is he actually going to be fit enough? Is he going to be ready to actually play this game week? Possibly. But if I had to guess, I would say that Salah is not going to be starting the Liverpool game against Leicester. And if he does start the Liverpool game against Leicester, then that does kind of maybe put him in doubt for the game against Burnley, I would say. So, yeah, for that reason, I don't think Salah is the one to go for necessarily right now. I think it's an option, but but certainly if you're kind of choosing between Salah, De Bruyne and Fernandes, I feel like over the next 2 game weeks, we've got to think about captaincy as well. Am I going to captain Salah this week, even if I had him? Say I had Salah, De Bruyne and Fernandes this game week, who would I captain? Well, I'd still captain De Bruyne over Salah. Next game week, if I had both Fernandes and Salah in my team, who would I captain? Well, I would still captain Bruno Fernandes, due in part to his double game week. So in that sense, if you're not going to captain Salah, do you need him? FPL Phillips in the chat has said exactly what I'm thinking. If we could just do De Bruyne to Salah in, game week 26. I mean, possibly even game week 25, but certainly game week 26, it makes a lot of sense. And what I would be doing here, actually, is I'm wildcarding now, obviously. I'll be trying to save a transfer next game week. And then as I transition from game week 25 to game week 26, I'll have 2 transfers. And the idea would be that I would swap Son and Fernandes out. De Bruyne and Fernandes out and bring in Salah and Son. So 2 double game week players for game week 26. 2 premium double game weeks players as well. Now, previously on last night's video, I did kind of say I'm going to go for Ronaldo, with the idea of transitioning a Ronaldo into a Kane. I was kind of thinking about this more and more, and the more I think about it, the more I actually would prefer to have Fernandes. I'd be much more comfortable captaining Fernandes for double game week 25. And also, is Kane really that much better than Son, or maybe is that a little bit of recency bias from me? Obviously, we've seen Kane recently been doing quite well, whereas Son has kind of been out injured for a little while. We've got to remember that before that, Son was absolutely flying. Son probably provides a little bit more value for money as well, and gets those points from clean sheets and gets those extra points for goals as well. And the problem is with Spurs at the moment. I know a few of you guys have mentioned Spurs, particularly Spurs defenders in the chat today. What I do want to say about Spurs defence is, how do we get involved in the Spurs defence? And I've kind of been chatting to one of my friends who is a Spurs fan this morning, and we kind of completely agree on the fact that there's really nowhere to go in terms of Spurs defenders right now, because we don't know exactly how they're going to line up. Emerson doesn't seem nailed on. Even Reguilon could potentially be rotated with Sessegnon. These 2 players, not looking too hot at the moment. Doherty is maybe going to come in there as well. So we don't know exactly what's going to go on with the fullbacks. In terms of centre-backs, we've got Christian Romero now fit for Spurs, which means Davies is at risk, Dyer is at risk, Sanchez potentially at risk as well. I would say the most nailed on of the Spurs defenders is Reguilon, but again, we're not fully confident about this, and especially when we're going into a double game week, we want to be kind of thinking more about those guaranteed starting double game week players who will start both of the double game week games. Because of that, that's what makes them so appealing. That's why we want to target double game weeks. Because if we're just going for double game week players in terms of just players that we think are good, even if they might not play, then we may as well go for a single game week player who has an even better fixture. So for me, I'm not 100% sure who is going to be starting as a defender for Spurs, and I think there might be a bit of rotation there, and I think most Spurs fans will probably roughly agree with that one anyway. Broja, update on Broja. There were a couple of worries about his injury. What I have read today from Hassan Hutel and his press conference is that basically he has got an injury. That is true. Broja has got an injury. He didn't train on Sunday. He didn't train yesterday. He's going to be assessed today to see whether he can play tomorrow. Now, that's kind of risky. I don't know if Broja is actually going to play tomorrow, but if there's a chance of him playing tomorrow, if he's being assessed today with the intention of maybe playing tomorrow, that kind of suggests he's not going to be a long-term absentee. So obviously, you kind of have to try and work out exactly what is being said by the managers. What exactly does it mean? But from what I can understand, Broja's injury does not seem too serious, and if he's out for 1 or 2 game weeks, that's absolutely fine. At the end of the day, Broja is very much in our teams as a kind of backup option. When we kind of look at, let me kind of show you Broja's fixtures in the immediate term anyway. Probably not going to be looking to play him, as a starting player for 24, 25, or 26 either, to be fair. So even if he is out until end of February, this game week 27 when he plays Norwich, That's not the end of the world, really. That's a pretty good game week to have him back for. And in the meantime, he's that budget enabler that allows you to splash a bit more cash on the main body of your team. And then when we get this amazing Southampton fixture swing through all of these game weeks, we can say with reasonable confidence that Broja, because he's got potential to play, tomorrow, he's got potential to play at the weekend. By the 25th of February, we could probably say with reasonable confidence that he is going to be available. Of course, there is this one more game as well versus Newcastle that will need to be rescheduled. Could be rescheduled as early as game week 28 as well. So, there is potential for, anywhere between sort of game week 28, probably not 30, but 28, 29, 31, 32, all the way down. There could be a double game week there. One of the games will be Newcastle at home. So Broja is going to be a really nice option. And part of doing a wild card now, and I don't want to say wasting a wild card now, but, sacrificing your wild card reasonably early before the end of the season. Something you've got to think about is the long-term options and the players you kind of want a little bit later on as well. Max Pieri in the chat says, I'm a Spurs fan. I promise you Romero and Dyer are nailed, no doubt. I would agree with Romero. I would probably agree with Dyer as well, but Dyer is a pretty boring FPL pick, and Romero at 4.8 million for a player who is kind of really maxed out at 6 points, you would say. I don't know. He's not really performed very well on the bonus points so far this season. It's difficult to say for sure, but he's not going to probably get you too many more points than 6. Same with Dyer. Is it really worth going for a player like that rather than someone who is a little bit more interesting? And, you've got to remember, guys, the double game week that Spurs have, one of the games is against Man City. So we're not expecting a clean sheet there either. So, yeah, in that sense, it's kind of difficult. But anyway, guys, Dyer is injured. Yeah, he's got this injury. I don't know how available he actually will be, but he is kind of a little bit injured. He's having some problems at the moment, is Eric Dyer. But, by the time we get game week 26, I'm sure that will be resolved. But anyway, guys, I've got 2 slots left to fill. And there's a couple of players I kind of like the look of, but they're mostly midfielders, if I'm honest. They're mostly midfielders. And the 2 midfielders that I'm kind of interested in is obviously Rafinha, who I do think is going to be available. We've not heard anything else about his injury that he's sustained in international duty, but there is a kind of suspicion that it was just cramp rather than an actual injury. So, there is an option to go for Rafinha. Problem is, his double game week isn't great. His fixtures before the double game week aren't great. And his fixtures immediately after the double game week, as in, Spurs in 27, he's not exactly ideal either. So maybe, similar to kind of what a lot of you guys said about Maddison, is maybe it's not quite the right time. It's not quite the right time to go for Rafinha. Not quite time to go for Rafinha. We can just wait a few more game weeks before we start thinking about those guys. And, maybe go for someone else. So, the other midfielder I like a lot is Maxwell Cornet. He's a very, very good chance of being in my final wildcard team come 6:15 p.m. this evening. Not because of the immediate fixtures, they're not great, they're not ideal, but what I do like is the double game week 26 is against Brighton and Spurs. That's not the worst double game week in the world, but also game week 27, he plays Crystal Palace. This is going to be a game week where a lot of teams are actually blanking, and we can take advantage of this one, and there is very strong indication that Burnley will have a double game week in game week 27 as well. And the second fixture will most likely be against Leicester. It could technically also be against Aston Villa, but because Leicester have such a backlog of games and are still in European competition, basically the Premier League need to start scheduling in some more Leicester games, and a really obvious Leicester game to reschedule in is the Leicester versus Burnley game, and there's a perfect slot for that to go in game week 26 in the midweek slot. So real strong possibility that Burnley actually get a double-double. So, take from that what you will. Double-double for Burnley could be pretty nice. Anton in the chat says, why Elise but no, not Gallagher? Basically because Gallagher can't have a double game week in game week 26 because one of the double game week fixtures for Crystal Palace is Chelsea. So we know that Gallagher can't play against his parent club in Chelsea. So it's not really there's not really too much point in going for that. Elise, on the other hand, is just looking absolutely incredible at the moment. Honestly, guys, go watch some clips. Go watch him play. You are going to be so impressed. It's it's really quite nice. So yeah, Elise is on fire, and it really looks like he's kind of cementing himself in that Crystal Palace squad, and I hope he does as well, because he is their most informed player out of any of their players that they have right now. So it wouldn't make too much sense to drop, a young player who they've just signed in the summer. They've been waiting to break Elise into their team for a little while. He's had some injury problems with his back, I believe, earlier on in the season as well. They've been trying to break him in. They've finally done it. It doesn't make too much sense for them to drop him out of that team now. So yeah, happy with the Elise shout. But the problem is, we can put Cornet in here. That still leaves us with one slot to fill, which is where I'm kind of, wouldn't necessarily say I'm stuck. I have some ideas, but I'm not 100% sure at this point, which is why I need a nice long break between these two streams to finalise my ideas, and maybe you guys can share some of your opinions as well. But someone who I have had in my draft this morning when I've been tinkering is Weghorst, but I'm not really sure I want to double up on both Cornet and Weghorst. The Burnley double up seems like a long-term disaster waiting to happen, to be honest. So really not too confident about that one. It would have to be Weghorst or Cornet, one or the other. I do think Cornet is going to outscore Weghorst. I think Weghorst, the nature of the kind of striker that he is, I wouldn't necessarily call him a creative striker, but he's, maybe he is a bit of a creative striker, but he does maybe, create a little bit of space, knock-ons, have players running in behind him, and that's exactly what Cornet is going to be looking to do as the second striker in that two-striker partnership up front for Burnley. Also, Burnley are pretty good for a clean sheet now and again. Nice extra point for Cornet. Also, Cornet gets extra points for goals. I do think Cornet is going to score more goals than Weghorst as well. So overall, Cornet, I like him. I really kind of do like Cornet over Weghorst. The problem is there's so many midfielders I want, and this is also part of the reason, guys, why I'm going for Robertson over Jota, is because there are far more midfielders that I want in my FPL team than there are defenders that I want in my FPL team right now. So if you are saying it's a bit of a coin toss between Jota and Robertson, which you probably would, I do prefer Robertson as the long-term pick from between now and the end of the season. I do prefer Robertson, for the journey of the season. But if there is a coin toss, a good part of it is, who would you be having instead of the player? Who would I be having instead of Jota? Well, I've got a few options. I could have Cornet, I could have Rafinha, I could bring in Maddison a little bit later on. There's loads of different players that I quite like, to fill that spot in midfield. For defenders, I'm not really so sure, really. I'm not really sure how I would go. Do I go for another Man City defender? I'm a little bit worried about the Man City defenders kind of rotating a little bit with Champions League coming back. Cancelo is obviously, the most nailed of those Man City defenders. I don't know. So it's very, very difficult to say exactly what is the situation there and who to go for. But overall, I'm happy with the Robertson pick. But the third striker spot, I don't know. Who would you guys go for? The other option I kind of thought of is Watkins. It seems pretty obvious to go for Watkins. I'm not terribly enthusiastic about Watkins, if I'm honest. And this is the kind of point. This is kind of the point. I'm not that enthusiastic about Watkins, really. He could do okay. The fixtures look good on paper, but I kind of wonder, are they actually that good? They're all right. 27 is a game where I would definitely be playing Watkins, and that's Brighton away, so not massively happy about that one. This Leeds game is good, so it'd be nice for this game week. Newcastle away is a decent fixture as well. But, maybe Newcastle are becoming a slightly more difficult team. Watford, I'm not really sure about Watford. I don't know what the situation there is. Are Watford going to improve, actually, in defence? With Hodgson arriving, all these new defensive players arriving at the club as well. Is there going to be some improvement from Watford? Watkins against Watford? Is Watford going to be a slightly tougher than before? Maybe. Also, Watkins doesn't have a double game week 26, so there's that. But then again, I could just bench him. Isn't he a trap, Dan? He is. He is potentially a trap. But if I'm honest, if I'm saying, do I prefer Watkins and Cornet or Rafinha and Weghorst? I do prefer Cornet and Watkins, to be fair. So that is certainly something I'd be looking at doing. More pay? Are we bringing back the meme? Because people are saying in the chat. I don't know. I don't know. You guys want more pay? I don't think so. I don't think so. Kulusevski, I definitely do not think it's going to be, starting too much right away. DCL, again, Calvert-Lewin has no double game week. And I have no confidence in Everton, if I'm honest. Game week 27, again, another game that that this player would be covering would be against Man City, because the situation I'm basically going to be in, guys, is come game week 27, my bench is going to be Ramsdale, Trent, Robertson, and Salah, who will be in the team at that point, which means that every single other one of my players will have to start for me in game week 27. So I do need to make sure that, although, okay, fair enough, I can kind of rotate my players a little bit. That's the whole idea behind this squad, is that there will be a little bit of rotation. Particularly with the cheaper options there, Aït-Nouri, Cornet, Elise, and maybe that Broja, obviously, and whoever is in the Watkins spot, they will kind of be rotating a little bit. But for game week 27, there won't be that facility to rotate. So I won't be rotating in that game week at all. So I don't know. I did also kind of think about Lacazette, but that's going to basically mean that even though I don't mind Lacazette for the double in 26, I don't mind him for the double in 26, but in 27, it means I'm booking a transfer. I know that I will have to transfer out Lacazette into the game week 27 deadline, which is like, I don't know, what if I get an injury to one of my other players? I'm already booked into transfers of De Bruyne and Fernandes to Son and Salah. Do I really want to book in a transfer in 3 game weeks in advance? We all know by now, guys, that you can't really plan quite that far in advance. It's kind of a little bit troubling. So, I don't know. Thomas in the super chat says, I risk having 2 defenders. Want to do Alonso to Digne, but I have 6.9 in the bank. I also want Gray to Fernandes, worth a -4. Digne, this is a lot of text that I'm sure is not interesting to anyone else. But I'll try and answer very quickly. Alonso to Digne looks good. If you've got another Man United player in, don't worry too much about getting Fernandes. If you've got a Ronaldo or De Gea, for example, they'll probably be good enough to cover you. So don't worry too much about taking minuses and this, that, and the other. FPL Phillips says, I'm guessing it'll be Cornet, Aït-Nouri, and Broja on the bench this week. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. So, in a way, it'll be nice to have someone to cover this game week, which again lends itself to Watkins. Watkins has got the nice fixture against Leeds this game week, so that kind of works in a way. It would also be, I'm leaning towards, I know I said in yesterday's video I'd be starting De Gea, but I'm starting to lean towards Ramsdale as the starting goalkeeper for game week 24 as well, over De Gea. But that is a little bit of a toin cost situation, so I may as well support the Arsenal boys. Why not? I do know Man United are kind of prone to a bit of a mistake, and this new look Burnley attack of Cornet and Weghorst, I don't know. It could do some damage, It could do some damage. But yeah, that would indeed be my bench. I would probably put Broja last, I guess, and probably put Cornet in first, back the attacker, Aït-Nouri second sub, and all the other players would play. And all the other players, in fairness, have very decent fixtures. Particularly if Watkins is in this slot, everyone would have very nice fixtures. So we'd be looking good for pretty much every game week. We'd be looking absolutely phenomenal all the way through and including game week 27. Game week 28, maybe I can try and even save a transfer for 28 and do 2 transfers in 28. That's when I'll probably be looking to maybe in 28 do Digne to Reece James. Maybe I'd quite like to get a Chelsea defender in around game week 28. So maybe Reece James in there at 28, possibly. Don't know. I'm spitballing here, guys, but that's kind of the whole purpose of this stream, just tinkering and stuff like that. Let's have a look. We've got a couple more super chats here. Janania says, would you sell Bernardo right now for a -4? Maybe Foden or Elise? No, not sure. Not sure I would. Foden, rotation risk, particularly in the medium term. Elise, I mean, not for a -4. I don't think I would bring Elise in for a -4 because he is a little bit of a risk, remember. I do have the facility to have a bit of a risk because I've got a strong squad here. And I want a wild card anyway, so I can take a couple of risks as well as getting some players I'm really, really confident about. Anurag says, with Greenwood out, is Rashford an option? Yeah, Rashford is a nice punt to go for right now. I still do prefer Bruno I still prefer Ronaldo to Rashford as well. I still prefer De Gea to Rashford as well. So, yeah, basically, there is a few players I prefer from Manchester United than Rashford. And honestly, you notice in this team, guys, I'm down to 2 double game week 25 players because I'm kind of actually feeling that the game week 25 double could be a little bit of a trap. So I'm just going to go to that now. So obviously, we've got Manchester United. They play Southampton and Brighton. And then Brighton play Watford and Man United. Now, fair enough. Brighton could be on for a clean sheet against Watford. But it's not guaranteed. And we do see a lot of 1-1s with Brighton. Brighton are the kings of 1-1s. So, you know, I would say that, to be fair, there is there's over a 50% chance that Brighton concede in both games, really, and in which case we'll be looking at 4-pointer defenders, maybe even 3-pointer defenders if a team were to score 2 goals against Brighton. So Brighton, you know, maybe okay bench options if you're on a tight budget. You know, I kind of thought about doing Ait-Nouri instead of Ait-Nouri going for Veltman or Webster, but Ait-Nouri is a player I'd like to keep for the long term. Remember, again, I'm wildcarding quite early. I need to kind of think a little bit more about the long term. And loading up on Brighton and Man United players seems quite short-sighted. Man United players as well are so expensive that it's difficult to get them in and also think about Salah and also think about De Bruyne and also thinking about making sure the rest of your team is strong enough as well. So, yeah, basically that. Well, thoughts on Lucas Moura? Not keen on him, to be honest. Not too keen on him. He could be the full guy at Spurs, to be honest, especially if Spurs go to a two players up front kind of formation. I just don't know if Lucas necessarily suits the Conte system, and there's a couple of players obviously that can displace Lucas as well. Bergwijn, who's done okay, as well. I say he's done okay. He scored 2 goals the other game week, didn't he? And obviously Kulusevski has come in as a player who plays in the same position as Lucas. So there you go. Someone says, Josh says, team looks awesome, Dan. Love the spicy Cornet and Elise picks. Yeah, I like a bit of spice, guys, as you know. I like a spicy differential. Elise's at 0.3% ownership at the moment. Cornet, 0.5. Is there any other players who are kind of differential? 1.5% on Ait-Nouri. I think Edouard is still reasonably low. 7.4%. Okay, well, it's not super low. What's Dina at? 8.3. He has flown up, hasn't he? Robertson's pretty differential, 5.1% ownership. So yeah, I think I'm reasonably differential here, but with some key players as well. You know, we've still got Trent, we've still got Cancelo, we've got 2 of the main goalkeepers in De Gea and Ramsdale. We've got Fernandes, who's going to be the most popular captain choice next game week. De Bruyne is probably going to be the most I think objectively De Bruyne, I say objectively, it is very much a subjective point, but I do think that De Bruyne is He's going to be the best captain option for this game week. If you can have any captain in the whole of FPL this game week, say you're on a free hit, for example, you're going to go for De Bruyne. He's going to be in your team and he's going to be your captain. Quick shout out to Insanind. Thank you very much for joining the channel as a member. Enjoy those emojis. And there we go. Any more interesting things in chat? By the way, guys, this team is not locked in, but it's close. It's close to being locked in. I like this team a lot. I certainly like this team more than the team I had last night, which is good. And each tinker should slowly improve your team a little bit. And if your tinker, you know, actually drifts your team away and makes your team look slightly worse, then maybe go back a step. But I think this is the most progressed my fantasy wildcard draft has been, to be honest. I really like it. There's few things I dislike about it. The only player I'm not like super, you know, crazy about is Watkins, really. But I guess it would be nice to have an attacker for these next few fixtures for Aston Villa. I don't think they're as amazing, these Aston Villa fixtures, as from an attacker's point of view. I don't think these fixtures are as amazing as some people are making them out to be. I certainly wouldn't be thinking about doubling up on the Aston Villa attack. I prefer, you know, if I can only have one Aston Villa player, it's Digne, it's not Watkins. So, Yeah, well, the fact that there's no double game week in 26, I suppose that because there is that potential for a double game week in 27, I think it's not super likely, really, but there is a potential for a double game week for Aston Villa in 27. I suppose that is an advantage of going for Watkins, and we can just bench Watkins in 26 and play one of our other players. I mean, if we look through our double game week players for game week 26, it's Ramsdale, Trent, Robertson, Ait-Nouri, Elise, Salah, who will be in for De Bruyne, Son, who will be in for Fernandes, Cornet, and Edouard, which is 9 players. So from the rest, from the other, how many other players will I have? 5 other players. I need to pick 2 to play out of the outfield players anyway, and I'd be picking between Cancelo, Digne, Bowen, or Watkins. And Broja, who it won't be Broja, but probably won't be Watkins either. But it would be pretty much I'd pick 2 of Digne, Cancelo, and Bowen, and arguably that's a tough decision in itself. So maybe that's another argument in favour of going for Watkins. The fact that I probably actually saves me a little bit of a headache because I can just bench him in that game week 26 game. Not that I know people will probably say that that's ridiculous, but I don't know. Let's see how Watford do the next couple of game weeks, and maybe I'll change my mind on that one. But I think there should be there should be an open-mindedness about the fact that Watford could improve a little bit, right? So yeah, it will be 2 of Digne, Watkins, Cancelo, and Bowen as my 2 non-doubling game week 26 players. Bowen has a good fixture against Newcastle. Is the Everton for Man City? No, Spurs for Man City. So, I don't know, maybe argument to not play Cancelo in that game. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. It's going to be a very interesting one. But, I've got some options, which is good because I'm planning a couple of game weeks ahead. It'd be nice to have some options, won't it? Anna Reich says, think Kane is a good captain shout, but doubt anyone has him. He's not bad. I think it's difficult to have Kane in your fantasy team at the moment. I do like him as a shout, and I would if I had him, I'd definitely be thinking about captaining him. I'm not going to lie to you. But it's difficult to have him in because you kind of want Ronaldo. If we're talking about forwards, we kind of want Ronaldo maybe next game week instead of Kane, who plays Wolves next game week, which is not ideal really as a fixture. Spurs versus Wolves kind of has 0-0 written all over it. Having Kane means maybe you can't have Fernandes, maybe you can't have De Bruyne, maybe you can't have Salah. You got to pick. I mean, really, I've kind of tinkered with 3 premiums, but unless the third premium is Son, it's pretty difficult. It's difficult to have everyone. You kind of got to pick 2 and maybe try and rotate those 2 through the game weeks. And if you're doing that, Kane should be coming in 26, not now. I don't know. Cancelo is undroppable. You mostly think so, yeah. I would kind of agree with that. Is Dalot starting? Probably. I mean, he's definitely starting. I would say he's definitely starting one of the 2 games in the double game week, but I would be aware of the fact that Wan-Bissaka could come in. G-Rid says, would you still wildcard if you had 1 less bad player in your current squad? Maybe not. I mean, it would probably take 2 less bad players for me to say I'm not going to wildcard. But also, I'm not just wildcarding to get rid of players. I'm also wildcarding to set up for future game weeks. Let me get up this, because I did have this actually prepared. I'm not going to enlarge the screen because it throws everything off and I can't be asked to move things around, basically. But if you look at this this table of fixtures, you can kind of start to identify where you're going to be using your chips. And, by going for this early wildcard, I can kind of already figure out exactly what I'm going to be doing. So, obviously I can say with this wildcard that I can capitalise with 2 double game week players in 25. I can capitalise with 9 double game week players in 26. I've got blank game week 27 completely covered. Don't need to even worry about free hitting on that one. Game week 28, there's going to be a fixture swing there. So maybe you can kind of, if you're wildcarding now, you can save 1 or 2 transfers, ready to use them in that game week 28 fixture swing. At that point, we're going to have a better idea about who's going to be blanking in 30. Well, we'll know for sure who's going to be blanking in 30 and therefore who's going to be doubling in 36, which gives us a very long time to think about planning for a nice bench boost in game week 36, which should be a huge double game week. And obviously game week 30, because me personally, because I've got 2 2 free hits, and I'm not going to be using one in 27 because I can avoid using a free hit in 27. I can just, no worries whatsoever, free hit in 30, and then after I've free hitted in 30, I have that spare free hit that could look pretty good for game week 33, where there's quite a good chance in game week 33 of some double game weeks, and there's also a possibility of some blank game weeks in 33 as well. So again, I would cover myself in 30 and 33 with some free hits and focus all of my attention on using my transfers to get double game week players for game week 36. So that is basically the plan. Triple captain in 26, obviously that's going to go on Salah, easy peasy lemon squeezy. But yeah, that's pretty much from what I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at these fixtures and kind of the significant events in each of the game weeks. Wildcard 24, triple captain 26, free hit number 1 in 30, 3 hit number 2 in 33, and bench boost in 36. And that is kind of what I'll be doing. That clown pic is still hilarious. Where is it? Is it on here somewhere? This one. You guys, what did you think, by the way, of that video? Did any of you guys see my team selection video yesterday where I painted my face as a clown? I thought it was pretty funny. Also, guys, is the mic any better today? Is there any like weird knocking sounds? Because I've actually got the microphone. If I just move the camera, you'll be able to see. I've got the microphone above me now on a little arm thing. So that's moved. So because I know a few of you guys were saying kind of about there being some weird, annoying banging noises, which I kind of assumed was me kind of knocking on the table because the microphone was on the table. I was kind of knocking into it and stuff. I kind of thought that might be why there was some strange microphone noises. But hopefully that's a little bit better now. That was jokes, best vid, absolutely loved it. You look better in the clown outfit. Fair enough. It suited me, didn't it? It certainly suited me for my game week 23 scores, that's for sure. You know, I'm actually thinking of, for the next video, for the next team selection video, if I get a good score in 24, I'm going to start the video with the clown outfit on and then slowly remove parts of the clown outfit to show that I am no longer a clown. On the other hand, maybe I have another absolute stinker and I'll have to put the whole clown costume makeup back on again and just leave it on for the rest of the season until I have a good game week again. Audio sounds good from what you guys are saying, which is really good to hear. I'm so glad, guys. I'm so glad. Always looking to try and improve things, you know, one thing at a time, very slowly. Bossman says, love the clown vid, Dan, but don't be too harsh. Yeah, I know. I was not being too harsh on myself, really. I just thought, you know, you have a bad game week. There's no point in getting upset about it. You may as well laugh about it sometimes and, you know, have a bit of banter with yourself. Have a bit of banter with you guys. Obviously, I had a terrible game week. You know, let's have a laugh of that situation. There's no point getting miserable, for sure. So, yeah. You know, if I can throw a little bit of fun into this YouTube channel, then I will. You know, and if there's a good opportunity to turn a bad situation into a funny situation, then why not? Although I have to tell you guys that makeup was an absolute nightmare to apply, and it was an absolute nightmare to get off my face as well. Believe me, it was annoying. But yeah, it was funny, so whatever. I'm glad you guys found it funny. For those of you who are just joining, yes, I have hit the wildcard button. This today's stream is the first of 2 streams today. I'll be doing a second stream at 5 o'clock in about, well, it's like 3 hours, just over 3 hours time. I'll be doing another stream. I'm going to end this one reasonably soon, but I'll be doing another stream just about over an hour before the deadline. So yeah, that's why we're streaming early, because we're doing 2 today, and I wanted to catch you guys up on what I'm thinking about my wild card, because otherwise I'd be spending a lot of the deadline stream talking about my wild card when really I should have been kind of actually in the deadline stream. I would prefer to spend most of the deadline stream answering you guys' questions and kind of speaking to you guys rather than, you know, talking about my own team, because a lot of you guys, I imagine, come deadline, if you're anything like me, you will be panicking like crazy. It's been a while, right? It's been a bit. So I want to embrace the panic. I want to try and keep things cool. Those two things contradicted themselves, but you know what I mean. Scott Newby says Hassan Kamara, captain in double game week 26. That is spicy. That is very spicy. I'm going to give some spice ratings to some of these players as well. Ethan says, Dan, use paint next time. It was face paint, but it was just still annoying. Oh, just felt weird having things on my face. Not used to it. Connor says, what would you do if you had Cucurella and Morpay already in your team? Definitely keep them. If you already have them, then keep them. What about Jota? Okay, right. We'll speak about Jota. Let's speak about Jota versus Robertson, because that's really the conversation that we're having, aren't we? We know we want to triple up on Liverpool, ready for game week 26. We know that. So, someone says, can you answer my super chat, please, mate? Have I missed one? Oh, I did miss one. I'm so sorry. All right, let me... It's the only one I missed, thankfully. All right, I'll answer that, and then we'll talk about Jota versus Robertson very briefly. This is from Christopher Rye. He says, I have KDB. Would you bring in Fernandes for double game week next game week to swap for Salah in game week 26, or use transfers to strengthen the squad for 26? That's an interesting question. I mean, if you have KDB now, so you're going to want to captain him this game week. So you're not going to get rid of KDB this game week for sure. Next game week, would you bring in Fernandes? That's the real question, isn't it? It depends. Do you have any other Manchester United players you'd be comfortable with captaining? Do you have a De Gea in your team? I don't think there's anything wrong with captaining De Gea. Do you have Ronaldo in your team? Would you feel like captaining him? If you have one or both of those players, then you might not need Fernandes. But if you actually would really quite like to captain Fernandes, you'd really want to act quite aggressively, then, you could do the KDB to Fernandes to Salah route of transfers. You're booking in a transfer to use every game week, and it does maybe restrict you a little bit in terms of improving the rest of your team, unless you're willing to take minuses. But it is an option, and I have seen some, reasonably experienced FPL managers discussing that exact chain of transfers that you've suggested. So in a way, it's up to you. How aggressive do you want to be? Have you got another captain for 25? Are you comfortable with captaining someone else in 25? Are you happy going without Salah for 25 as well? Because if you're not happy with going without Salah for 25, then maybe that's a reason to just go straight for Salah. So that's kind of what I would say is the answer to that one. But in terms of Jota versus Robertson, which I promised I would talk about, in terms of that, it's up to you. Like, I think Jota is really good for this game week. If I had to choose one of Robertson or Jota for game week 24 only, I would pick Jota. I also think Jota's got a reasonably good chance of matching Robertson's minutes in 26. I don't think there'll be, maybe not. I think Robertson will probably play slightly more minutes than Jota over 26, but maybe there's not a tremendous amount in it. I do prefer Robertson for game week 25, and I also am very aware of the fact that Robertson's point scoring ability, I believe, right this second, is higher than Jota's. Jota takes a lot of shots. He gets the very occasional assists as well. He scores a decent amount of goals as well. We like that. But what Jota doesn't get is bonus points. He is what's the opposite of a bonus points magnet? He's a magnet, and the bonus points are also a magnet, and they're just kind of forcing themselves away from each other. Jota doesn't get bonus points, which makes him a very difficult captain choice. It's not ideal. Jota also kind of, if we think longer term in the season, and if we try and imagine Robertson versus Jota in a very long term kind of point of view, then I think Robertson will get more minutes than Jota between now and the end of the season. I think Robertson will be a better FPL asset between now and the end of the season, because Jota, once Salah is back, once Mane is back, and we know Mane is not back, so Jota is going to play this game week. Once those guys are both back, Diaz is fully integrated into the team as well, Jota is going to have his minutes limited between, kind of game week, probably game week 26, 28 and the end of the season. Jota is going to be, probably going to be playing a lot less than he has been in the first half of the season. I would predict. And the other thing, and I kind of mentioned this earlier on in the stream, so apologies for kind of repeating myself. Bonus points repeller, that works. Bonus points repellent, yeah. Jota is bonus point repellent. The other thing is that the case of there's not too many defenders I really want right now, and there's a lot of midfielders I want right now. So if I can save a spot in midfield, reserve a spot in midfield for other players I like Elise, Bowen, Cornet, Rafinha and Maddison down the line, all these other weird and wonderful midfielders that we quite like to have in our teams, we can save a slot for them by not going for Jota, and we can fill up a spot in defence that we may be kind of struggling. What defender should we go for right now? I don't know if I want to go for an extra Man City defender. This is a personal thing. I don't know. I don't want to double up on the City defence because I'm worried the centre backs. I'm worried Laporte and Diaz are going to be rotated a little bit. I'm not really too sure about that. Who do I go for? Well, Robertson. That gives you an answer. Now that said, if you have Jota right now and you're not on a wild card, and I'm sure you guys, probably most of you guys are in that exact situation. You are Jota gang right now. I would not make any significant efforts to swap Jota for Robertson. I think if you've got Robertson, stick with him. If you've got Jota, stick with him. It's as simple as that. If you're on a wild card like me, it's a little bit more tricky. But for me personally, and my kind of preferences and my kind of, the way I'm thinking about my wildcard team, trying to set up for a long term, not too keen on a lot of defenders. Because of this, I have edged towards Robertson as my third Liverpool player, if you like. I'm not saying that's the right answer necessarily. I don't even know if it's the right answer for me. Could end up being, a terrible shout ultimately. But that's kind of my thinking anyway. So that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say on this one. Giandre says, please rate my wild card. All right, go on then. All right, everyone else, you're going to have to be patient. But yeah, appreciate the super chat. Ramsdale, Sanchez, Trent, Cancelo, Dina, Aït-Nouri, Duffy, KDB, Fernandes, Jota, Bowen, Martinelli, Edouard, Dennis, Watkins. Well, Duffy's not going to be playing, so Duffy is wasting a spot, really. You may as well just go for a Marty or someone if you're going to put Duffy in there. I do recommend swapping Duffy for Veltman or maybe Webster there instead. Everything else looks pretty good as long as you're aware that you're going to be triple Liverpool, and you have Martinelli there, so that's not going to give you a full 11 players for 27. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, the problem with me rating other people's wild cards is all I'm really going to do is say, if it's not mine, then there's something wrong with it, because I've already chosen the perfect wild card, my opinion of the perfect wild card. So as long as your wild card is one thing different to mine, I'm probably going to say, well, actually, I would prefer if it was this way, because that is what I am doing. So hopefully that makes sense. But you know what I mean? It's hard. It's kind of hard to judge other people's wild cards without saying, oh, just do mine instead. I do think there's viable ways of doing different things. I think having Salah from the get-go is perfectly viable. I think going for Jota instead of Robertson is perfectly viable. I think going for players like Coutinho, I think going for players like Rafinha, all perfectly viable. I think if you don't want to go for De Gea and Ramsdale and you prefer to maybe switch De Gea for Sanchez, viable. If you don't fancy Elise, viable. There are so many ways of doing this. If you want to go for Son immediately or Kane immediately, or you don't really fancy Fernandes, you'd rather go for Ronaldo, it's all good. These are all good options. I'm not gonna sit here and say everything else is bad, but this is where I'm leaning. This is where I'm leaning. Mr. Tasty Sock says, what's the plan for getting Salah back? So basically, in game week 26, by game week 26, De Bruyne and Fernandes will have been transferred out, and Salah and Son will have been transferred in. So that's how that's going to work. So Salah's going to be back. We've got a nice clear route. Particularly De Bruyne to Salah is a real clear transfer route. This is your last wild card, right? Yeah, well, you're going to get 2 wild cards in the season. You have to use the first one in the first half of the season. You have to use the second one in the second half of the season. This is my second half of the season wildcard for sure. We've got 2 free hits left, you know. Got 2 free hits left. What about Buendia? Nah. I don't know. He's an all right pick, but there's no double game week there. That's the problem. If you're willing to bench, if you're intending on benching him, maybe it's not bad. I don't have a second free hit. Shall I free hit? No, I would definitely say, guys, if you only have 1 free hit left, you really do want to be saving it for that. If you look on this little diagram here, you want to be saving your free hit for blank game week 30. So game week 30 is going to be a really important game week to make sure you have a wild card there just in case you need it, because I think you probably will. There's going to be a lot of teams blanking in 30. A lot of really good players that you have in your team will be blanking in 30, and you want that 1 game week only solution rather than to fill up your team with game week 30 players, because you won't want those players long term. I won't go into too much detail explaining why. I've done, videos on chips over the break. Feel free to go check out some of the videos I've made on this channel on chip strategy. And there we go. Why not going for Cristiano Ronaldo? I'm not really too sure about his minutes in 25. I wonder if maybe Cavani comes in for one of those 2 games. Or maybe he kind of plays, 60, 70 minutes in both of those games. I'm going to go for 1 Manchester United premium player, and 1 only, just the 1. And Fernandes, I think, in terms of minutes, is going to be getting more than Ronaldo is. So there we go. That's a basic thing anyway. Also, another one of the reasons I was going for Ronaldo initially, and I've said this already in this stream, so apologies if you guys have been here from the start. But I did like the idea of going from Ronaldo to Kane. Now I'm kind of thinking Bruno to Son is kind of more of a direction I'd like to go in, I think. Rohan's not impressed that there's no Spurs players. Oh, I'm sorry. Not right now. We'll get Son in eventually, don't worry. But, for now, Southampton's a good game. But Wolves after that, not really feeling it. There's no Spurs defenders I'm confident in right now. So, there's not going to be anything going on there. Aman says, will Salah play? I don't know. I would guess that he probably comes off the bench in game week 24, but doesn't start in game week 24. Matthias says, why Cornet? Cornet because he's got a double game week in 26, so we've got a nice double game week player. He has got a really strong potential to have a double game week 27 as well, so that could be a nice double game week for him. And then that would leave him with 2 fixtures in hand still. So loads of games, loads of double game weeks and stuff for Cornet. Could be pretty tasty, really. It could be quite nice. It's pretty cheap as well. You can leave him on the bench in those game weeks you don't fancy him. And in terms of Burnley FPL assets, certainly in terms of the attacking assets for Burnley, I think Cornet is, by and large, the best Burnley attacker that you can go for. Which is not saying a lot, but certainly when Cornet has been playing, he looked pretty good actually, pretty impressive. He's not had a great, there's been a few absences for, that doesn't sound like a real word, absences. Why does that not sound like a real word? It is a real word. But there's been a few absences for Cornet over the season, but you can see when he has been playing, been doing pretty well. 2 goals against Southampton in game week 9, a goal against Brentford in game week 10, goal against Crystal Palace in game week 12, goal against Leeds here in game week 21. Aside from that, not really played too much. So when he has played, and he is first choice, he's been out of the team not by his own fault. It's been through injury, through AFCON, and through arriving to Burnley, a little bit later on in the summer transfer window. He's missed a few games. So he is first choice. He is, when he does play, he's got a very good return rate, which is crazy to say from a Burnley player. I think he could be pretty good. And I think he's going to be even better with Weghorst there as well. I think he's going to be even better. I'll answer 2 questions at once here because a couple of people are talking about Mahrez in the chat, and someone has also mentioned Sterling in the chat. And I think those 2 conflict, right? They conflict. Sterling, is he going to play? Is Mahrez actually going to be the starting right winger this game week? Very good chance of that happening. Equally, you could say, is Mahrez going to start this game week? Maybe Sterling comes in. You know, there's going to be rotation there. There's going to be rotation there. And it's particularly when we get to Champions League games and cup games and stuff like that. There is going to be a lot of Manchester City rotation, and I'm not really feeling it. I'm not really feeling playing the Man City rotation game as we approach the end of the season, especially when we get to a time in the season where City have they've absolutely run away with the league and they're not even playing their best players in the league anymore. We are going to get to that point eventually. We do every season, don't we? So, you know, I'm not really feeling, certainly not on a wild card. I don't think I would be going for Man City players. Certainly on transfers, I would not be using my transfers, bringing in Sterling's or Mahrez's. They are just too risky. If you really want to do it, if you really are just desperate to just take a risk, then fair enough, go for it. But I'm certainly not going to endorse it. I'm not going to be the guy that you come back to saying, oh, I can't believe you said get Mahrez and now he's been rotated. Well, duh, he's Mahrez. He gets rotated. That's the most Mahrez thing in the world. That is what happens when you buy Mahrez. He gets rotated. He's just the most guaranteed thing that always happens whenever you put Mahrez in your team. But if you don't mind that, then why not? Go for it, guys. Why not? Why not? Which of those players are you going to put on the bench? So on the bench, I will be putting Ait-Nouri, Broja, obviously, because he's not fully fit, and Cornet for Game Week 24. Those will be the players for this Game Week, anyway. Broja fit. We don't know if Broja is going to be fit or not. But yeah, I've spoken about that earlier on in the stream. I am going to end the stream because I've been on for an hour. So I am going to go away. I'm going to have a little break. I will be back on stream at 5 p.m. UK time, so that's 3 hours from now. I will be streaming again. We are going to do... actually, before I go, I do also want to say, I know I've kind of, in the buy, sell, keep, avoid video, I did talk about Elanga a little bit, and you know, and Elanga potentially being a good player to buy. I think I've actually really changed my mind on that, and I can only apologise. You know, I don't like it when I change my mind, and I know you guys don't like it when I change my mind either, but I don't know, unfortunately, I can't necessarily stick to everything I say, and sometimes I will change my mind on a player, and I'm not so confident on Elanga now. I don't know if he's going to get enough minutes. I don't think he's a bad shout, but I don't think he's going to get enough minutes in Game Week 26 to justify spending a transfer on or justify having in your team as a long-term pick. Certainly, if you did have him, you would... You know, he's a fairly short-term punt. If you're wildcarding in Game Week 28, for example, maybe Elanga would be a good player to go for. But I'm not. If I'm wildcarding now, which I am, and I, you know, I already kind of booked in transfers with De Bruyne and Fernandes going out for Salah and so on, because I kind of already booked in those transfers. I don't really want to go for Elanga. So yeah, just wanted to put that one out there. I'm not feeling Elanga personally anymore for my team. I still think it's a decent pick. John in the chat says, buy, sell, keep, avoid. Is Salah still an avoid? For me, yeah. He is. But, yeah, I just wanted to say that Elanga is not a player I'm as keen on as I was when I made that video. That's pretty much it. So there we go. Best 5.5 midfield option in the midfield except Elise. Maybe Martinelli, if you can cover it in 27 with a free hit, possibly. Martinelli's a really good pick. If you're going to free hit in game week 27, or you have a strong feeling that you've got 2 free hits left, you want to use one in 27, then Martinelli's a good pick. And before we go, guys, I do actually want to give a... I think we should do a stream raid, because I know FPL Pip is going to be streaming. Oh, he's streaming right now. So, guys, if you are looking for more streaming content, I may as well pass you on to the next guy. So FPL Phillips is a really, really decent FPL content creator. I've kind of shouted him out a little bit on this channel before, but you know, he's definitely someone I rate in terms of FPL content creators. He is streaming right now. I'm sure you guys have got a few hours to kill, whether you're at work or whether you're playing some video games, you want something on in the background, or maybe you just want to sit down and consume more FPL content. There you go. Go watch FPL Phillips for a bit, and I will be back in 3 hours at 5 p.m. UK time for some more stuff. I'm just gonna spam this link in the chat as well. There we go. Go and stream raid there and say FPL Mate sent me, and I'm sure he'll really appreciate that as well. So there we go, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna have a break. Gonna play a bit of FIFA. Gonna consume some more FPL content. And I'll be back at 5. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you did enjoy the stream. Hopefully I've answered a few questions regarding my own wildcard. I'll speak to you guys later a little bit more about your teams. But for now, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.